Peace, what's up? It's Common. And you got to bring the Sonics back to Seattle. It's part of the fabric of the NBA and basketball. Come on, Sonics, come back to Seattle.
Welcome back to Iconic Sonics. My name is Danny Ball. I'll be your host as always. We've got Jason Quick from The Athletic. He's here to talk about the NBA playoffs, as well as Tom Dundon's very loud and shaky start to his ownership down in Portland. Jason came on before the season started this year and right after the sale of the Blazers had been announced. That sale didn't end up taking place and being actually turned over to Tom Dundon and his ownership group until March 31st. He's talked about the immediate implications that Dundon's put in and how it seems very similar to what Clay Bennett did to Seattle. After that, we've got Cedric Walker from Seattle NBA Fans. They are a community partner of the show, and he talks about what that mission is all about and what they're aiming to do, the work they've already done, and where they're going. Before we get into those two interviews, I want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors, the Edgewater Hotel. It's one of the best places for a vacation or a staycation. You can stay in Seattle right on the water with great views and honestly one of the best brunches in town. Be sure to check them out. Edgewater and the 6-7 restaurant over there is great. And as always, I got to give a shout out to Simply Seattle. They not only sponsor the show, but they also employ me and I run socials over there. We've got the largest selection of Sonics gear in the world. Be sure to check them out. They've got all the other Seattle sports teams as well. They actually just had Gary Payton in store. I don't know why I keep saying they when it really is a we. As I just mentioned, I literally work there. That's enough from me at the top. Let's get right into this interview with Jason Quick and then followed up by Cedric Walker. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Bring our Sonics back. Right into those interviews now. Well, it's safe to say that he's a friend of the show at this point. It's his third or fourth time joining us. We got Jason Quick from The Athletic here. These Blazers that he's covered for years now are in the playoffs. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Danny. Good to be here again.
Awesome. Thank you for making your way back. We've got some good updates in regards to the Blazers and maybe some not so good updates. Let's start with the good ones. I know you're not there in San Antonio or Portland covering this series, but before the season started, we talked about Denny Avdia being a borderline all-star. Well, he went and got that done. And you talked about them having a nice young core, but kind of having to figure it out. And you talked about Drew Holiday and where maybe he fits in. Well, the Blazers just stole one from the 2 seed in the West, obviously without Victor Wembanyama, who went down with a concussion, but stole a game in the first round from one of the best teams in the league regardless. So how are you feeling about where the Blazers are at, and what did you kind of see all season long from them?
Well, without question, this is a big step forward for the organization. This is probably the ultimate scenario for them. They needed players to take a jump and to pop, and they did. Donovan Clingan, huge progress from year 1 to year 2. Shaedon Sharpe, even though he was injured for a big part, what he showed is definite progress. Scoot Henderson, for me, so far has been the story of the playoffs for the Blazers. 31 points in game 2, and just his defense has been on point. This is what they envisioned when they drafted him, but we hadn't seen that at all in his first year and a half, So all these guys took a leap forward. Denny took a huge leap forward. And then Drew, he had some injury problems, which was a concern when they traded for him, but he has been such a stabilizing force and has played really well at important times. So regardless of what happens in this series with San Antonio, this is a huge step forward for this franchise. It's what they needed. This has been 5 years now where they've just been, kind of trudging through the muck of tanking and hoping for good lottery news. And finally things are starting to come together and the organization has some hope and some enthusiasm. And it's really ironic because here they are, finally, all this good news, all this excitement. They're playing well on the court, and off the court, it's just a nightmare. And it's been a distraction. And I think that's the most frustrating thing, I imagine, for the players and for the coaching staff is that look at all this effort and all this progress that we've made. And everyone's talking about all the crap on the side with the new owner. So that has to be frustrating. But I think you have to give credit to Thiago Splitter and this team for tuning all that stuff out and playing some of their best basketball amid all this stuff.
Yeah. Tuning that stuff out is probably an understatement. I mean, between the Chauncey Billups stuff and like you said, now, right as the playoffs hit, all of this stuff coming out about Tom Dundon. I want to get to Dundon. I want to get to that whole situation. I've even got some other nicknames that I'd like to throw out and see where you land on those. Before I get there, the other thing that I can't help thinking about is they've got Dame Lillard sitting on the bench. The last time we talked about how he said, I'm going to be one of the best assistant coaches in the league. He obviously is probably one of the highest paid assistant coaches, if not the highest paid assistant coach in the league. But what was his effect on the team? I'd love to know from somebody that was close to them all season long. Where does that fall in? Obviously, we were talking about Drew Holiday too, kind of having a veteran presence, but where does Dame Lillard fall in? I think he's beloved in the Pacific Northwest, so would be interested to hear that.
I think he's been a really cool piece for them and a cool resource. And he's been there for some of the young guys, in particular, Caleb Love. He was a really nice mentor.
Who can't even get on a flight to get to the playoff game, from what I hear.
Yeah. But Dame has also been really careful not to overstep his bounds and, to constantly be in the guys' ears. I think he's been like, hey, if you need some input, I'm here. And he has offered his own input at times. He's inserted himself, but he hasn't been overbearing by any means. But I think one of the really cool things that has happened this year is these young guys have seen him work out, and they've seen his approach. Dame is an incredible workout guy. And the way he has been ramping up his activity is impressive. And just the way he's always the first one at the facility, lifting weights, getting his runs in. And then in practice, he's off to the side doing his thing. They see that work ethic and that attention to detail about what it's like to be a pro. And Caleb Love has talked about that you just sit there and you watch him go through his drills and you see that, oh, this doesn't just happen. You just don't get by on talent. You also have to work at it and perfect it. And so I think that has been a real subtle element to this season of having Dame around. But certainly his perspective and his Dame is such a great communicator. And I've always thought that one of the best aspects of Dame is he reads people and reads the room really well. So he can sit in the locker room and see that guy's down and he needs to be picked up. This guy, he's doing okay. He knows he screwed up. He doesn't need another guy in his ear. He has a wonderful sense of what is needed and how he is needed. And so I think he's poured into this team when needed and always been there as a resource.
I think him being a point guard and being able to read not only pick and roll coverage, but also a locker room makes a lot of sense to me, especially for those elite guys. That seems to be something that is just kind of in their nature.
I'm going to say this too. I'm going to say this. And I know the team has publicly said this is not happening, but I believe it can happen. I don't think it'll happen in the Spurs series, but if the Blazers beat the Spurs, I would not rule out a Damian Lillard return for the Western Conference semifinals.
Wow.
If he doesn't come home, if he doesn't come back in the semifinals and they make the Western Conference finals, I would put money that Damian Lillard returns. He's that close. I watched him.
I got real chills over here. I don't know if we can see it on my camera. No, you can. Look at there they are. They got real chills.
I've watched him go through his pregame workouts, and he is getting into a lather. He is pushing himself as hard as he's ever pushed himself, and he's there. We saw at All-Star Weekend, the guy can still shoot. He still has his touch, and boy, what a weapon that would be. I don't know if he'd be able to play anything more than 15 minutes, but just the threat of having him there. And, if there's a big weakness on the Blazers right now, it's their 3-point shooting. They had the third worst 3-point shooting this year. So I think they have a little ace up their sleeves if they can get past San Antonio.
I was thinking the same thing. I wasn't going to say ace. I was going to say he's only at queen or king level, but you obviously have seen him a little bit more up close than I have. So maybe it is in fact an ace up their sleeve. I love that. I would love to see it. That pound dribble sidesteps 3 move is just deadly. And like you said, if they could get 2 of those a night in a second unit, that makes all the difference in a playoff series with the young guys that they've already got. I want to get into the Dundon stuff, and I know you wrote your article, so let's lead with the kind of serious capital J journalism stuff that you found out. For those that aren't really aware, as I said, the last time you were on, we talked about he had just bought the team for that $4 billion price tag. He also owns the Hurricanes in Carolina in the NHL. But Jason, just kind of give us the spark notes, if you will, on the piece that you did for The Athletic and just kind of the current stuff that's going on with Dundon. And then maybe I'll cut the tension a little bit with some more nicknames that I cooked up.
Where to start with Tom Dundon? Well, let's see. He took over the organization on March 31st. And shortly after that, he gave an edict to all the managers that, hey, let's not waste money. Let's be smart about how we spend our money. And now where the real gray area is how those managers interpreted that and how they're making decisions moving forward. Probably the most controversial decision that was made was not traveling the two-way players to the playoff series. Caleb Love, Youngblood, and Kent did not make the trip because of a cost-cutting measure. What I have not been able to ascertain was that a Joe Cronin decision because of what he heard from Dundon, or was it a direct directive from Dundon that, no, these guys aren't going? But regardless, it was a cost-cutting move made on the heels of this edict of let's save money. Another way they're trying to save money is making the travel party check out early so they don't assess late fees. Now the players get to stay in their rooms; they don't have to check out early. Just the players, but everybody else, the masseuses, the trainers, the equipment staff, the media that travels with them, all have to be out early. They figure this will save about $1 million a year by not getting late checkout fees. So, all this stuff, he says, I'm cheap, but I'm putting all my resources into the players, into the product. But I think what he doesn't understand is that all that stuff feeds into the product. Tiago Splitter, through a source, was concerned on the day of their play-in game about the masseuse not being having to check out early and being upset about it, and he was worried. Was her state of mind going to affect the way she worked on Denny Advia's sore back, which is a pretty important thing. So it does have a direct correlation of how all this works, and that's the thing I think I have found in talking to people who have been in this league for decades. They're saying that Tom Dundon doesn't understand the NBA and doesn't understand how it works. Probably the biggest transgression on his part is he has been contacting everyone as far as coaches, while he has a coach who has led this team to an unexpected level, and he's coaching in the playoffs, and yet he is still interviewing college coaches, pro assistant coaches, and all these guys, Tom Thibodeau, Michael Malone, they're going, hey, this is not how you do business in the NBA. I will not interview with you while you have a head coach, out of respect. And Thibodeau told him that. Mike Malone told him that. This is just, it's poor etiquette. And yet he is just dead set. His big thing is he's a really data-driven guy, and he likes collecting data and collecting information. And I had one agent say that he believes he's talked to over 100 coaches.
Oh my gosh.
Even mid-major coaches. And and the thing is that you all know the NBA. The NBA is like gossip central. It's like a sorority. That's whisper. Hey, get this guy talk to me. And so it's gotten out. And I think he's used to operating in the NHL where it's not as gossipy, it's not as newsy, and people don't spread rumors. Well, the NBA is built on rumors. And I think he's finding that out. So a lot of these guys in the NBA who've been around and know how it works, they're looking at the way he's conducting himself and going, who is this guy? What, he obviously does not get this league. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a learning curve with Tom, but there's also another facet to this. He doesn't give a rip that he's ruffling feathers and that he's not, playing the way that everyone in the NBA has done for the last 30 years. He doesn't care because he's arrogant enough to think that my way works. I turned around the Carolina Hurricanes. I can turn around the Portland Trailblazers because my way works. We'll have to see on that. And I think that's what it's been a real interesting dynamic seeing how the Portland fans are handling him. Because, first of all, just off the top, I would say 85% of the fan base hates him right now. They absolutely hate him. But 15% are like, let's see what this guy does.
Oh, $1 million in late checkout fees saved. That's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm from this point that I think things got really complacent around the Blazers. Probably for the last, 5 to 8 years, 10 years maybe. Probably actually starting after Paul died in 2018. Paul was an incredible owner. Put up the resources, was very invested, very knowledgeable about what was going on. But people were comfortable after he passed. Jody wasn't around. She didn't really check in that much. She showed up to games and stuff, but she wasn't in that day-to-day information system that Paul was. And I think people got complacent, and there wasn't really a bar set that, hey, we need to achieve this. Tom is definitely like, no, we're going to be the best. We're not settling for mediocre. So I'm kind of a little bit excited to see that. But I think the way that he is trying to achieve that by pinching pennies, it's not good for morale. And
that leads me to, just let's take Jason Quick, the reporter, out of it, and just opinion here. You obviously have the Mark Cubans of the world who came in and started, getting better training facilities and their own plane for the team. And then you have the opposite end of the spectrum, of which sounds like Tom Dundon. Like, in your mind, where's the sweet spot there of, like, you don't have to be, not everybody can afford to be the Lakers or, whoever else, but like, especially in a market like Portland, that isn't one of the biggest markets in the league, but there's a love for basketball there. The fans adore this team. It's the only pro sports team. Well, obviously they'll get the WNBA back this year, but it's the only pro sports team right now in Portland. And where's that sweet spot of being an owner in your mind? I
think there's a couple of things. One, you have to be smart on who you hire, particularly your GMs and your coaches, and then you let them do their job. I think you have to be very involved in that hiring process, but then you let them do your job. You don't meddle in their decision making, and you don't question them, and you don't say, hey, what about this? Why aren't you doing this? I mean, I guess it's okay to find out their reasoning, but not pushing your own agenda. Let them do it. Second, I think you have to make it a place where people want to go to work and feel good about what they're doing. And I think so far Tom has directly or indirectly made people fear for their jobs or uneasy about their jobs. And I just don't think people perform well in that kind of environment where you're, God, is this going to get me fired? Or God, do I have to stay an extra 2 hours just to show him I'm working hard? I don't think that produces the best work. So I think you have to show that you care about the product and the people. And that's a tricky balance, obviously, because it is expensive to run an NBA team, but you should know that when you put up the money to do it. You don't go, I'm going to pay $4.25 billion for this, and then, go try to save pennies here and there. But those are my two big things, I think, that make a good owner is hiring smart people and then letting them do their job, and then making it a place where people want to come to work and feel good about what they're doing. And I think you do that by giving them the resources to do their job well.
I would love to get a question in here about just what does that look like for an expansion team? And obviously we can only kind of really hypothesize about what that looks like. But as far as with the Sonics, there's also the similarity that they own the Kraken and they're looking to own an NBA team. So in your own words, what does that kind of look like in your mind? And are there similarities there and just what you already know about the ownership group that exists?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be really important for this ownership group to get good people in there who know the community and understand what made the Sonics great, before. And I think that connection is going to be so much of the story early on. They're going to need to, reestablish that bond between the fans and the team. I still think people in Seattle love the Sonics, but that's still going to be really important because they're probably not going to be very good at the start. You
can only have so many jersey retirement nights and stuff that people get excited for until you're 50 games into a season and you only got 30 or 13 wins or something like that. So yeah, I hear you.
But they're going to need to realize that element and put people in place who can understand that and have a grasp on that history and that tone. So I think that's going to be really important. But again, I just think that the GM is such a huge hire, particularly for an expansion team, because you're talking about setting a culture, and the type of people that are around him or her is essential. Like, you have to have this vision and this ethos of how this organization is going to operate. And so I think you need a really smart and visionary person, but a person who's also grounded enough in the history of Seattle and knows that community and is able to operate in that, with kind of that in mind.
And hopefully they're pro late checkout for the rest of the staff, just so to keep the vibes high.
Yeah.
On the topic of Tom Dundon's nickname, he obviously got pretty infamously nicknamed by Bill Simmons this week, El Cheapo. So I couldn't help myself. I started looking up some former famous gangsters and running myself through. So you'll let me know, thumbs up, thumbs down, or 1 to 10, however we want to do this. The first one obviously was Pablo Ball Escobar. Nah, I didn't like it. Okay. Scar Frugal instead of Scarface. Penny Montana.
Oh, I like that.
The Teflon Coupon.
Not bad.
Instead of Benny Siegel, I had Budget Siegel.
Nice. Like it.
And then I had Frank Costello instead of Frank Costello. That's probably my biggest reach.
I don't like that.
Simmons is the podfather for a reason. Yeah. We'll stick with El Cheapo.
I don't think he cares. But you know what? That's another thing about all this. Tom Dundon does not care. And
can you imagine if he makes some merch out of it and he starts wearing it?
And you know what? This is so fascinating. I mean, stuff has been people have commented on this before, but the day he took over the Blazers, March 31st, they were playing in LA against the Clippers. And I happened to have the honor of being the first person to interview him. And there he was wearing a Whalers hat, the Hartford Whalers. And guess where the Hartford Whalers went to? Carolina, which is the team he owns. So it was almost like that, hey, I can move a team, and it's so that's the backdrop to all of this is he priming himself to move the franchise somewhere? And I can't say no, he's not, because everything that he is doing screams
Clay Bennett.
I want out. I want to. Yes,
It screams Clay Bennett.
yeah. I didn't want to say that name on this podcast.
The Whalers hat isn't as egregious as if Clay Bennett was to wear a Sonics hat,
Right.
but I can't imagine that is a great look and feel in
Right.
Portland, who already, had that.
Right.
I mean, yeah, like I think that is exactly where my mind goes too. And the next question I had for you on here was the last time you were on, we talked about how special the I-5 rivalry was. I can't imagine Tom Dundon cares about that. Like, and that shows me two things. He doesn't care about keeping a team in the Pacific Northwest, let alone having another one return that's going to take money out of his pocket. So I guess on that, I'll leave that kind of open ended there. But like, where does that fall in your mind?
I mean, I still think he is looking to move this team. I had a source tell me that he doesn't care for Oregon. He doesn't think it's a good place to recruit players to. He's already, set up this battle about the Moda Center and the public funding. He wants $600 million to improve the arena, but he doesn't want to put a penny into it. He thinks agreeing to a 20-year lease is enough collateral to put up for that we should be happy that, I'll sign a 20-year lease. But there's no fees for if he does move, or no penalties if he does move. He doesn't want to pay rent, doesn't want to put a cent in there. And so you guys know how arena deals work out. If it doesn't come through, then he's like, well, sorry. And then I think all these moves that he's making to piss people off, he's going to say, see, they don't even like me anyway, so I'm just going to leave. So it has those vibes. I haven't told that, but everything is screaming that right now that, boy, this guy sure isn't committed to Portland as a community and as a part of NBA history and an important franchise.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I hate to leave with a heavy heart on a topic like that. I mean, I hate hearing that. I mean, obviously all the moves and the penny pinching that you just touched on makes it feel like it's headed in that direction. I know you're in Minnesota right now, so let's bring it all the way back to the current playoff series. You're covering the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. I think Ant and Jokic are two of the most interesting matchups in this, or is one of the most interesting matchups. The Tim Connolly factor of former GM, now the GM in Minnesota. What are you seeing there? And then let's end it with Jason Quick's finals prediction for me.
Oh dear. Well, this Nuggets Timberwolves series has been something so far. These two teams hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. This is the third time in 4 years that they've met in the playoffs. The last time Minnesota beat them in 7 games that ended Denver's chance to repeat his title as champions. I'm sorry. And already it's been a real chippy series. There's been technicals pushing. The big headlines heading into tonight's game 3 is after game 2, Jaden McDaniels for the Timberwolves basically listed off the Nuggets roster by name and called them all bad defenders. And, the Nuggets are doing their best to bite their tongue and saying they don't care. But if you are any kind of student of body language, you could see that they're pissed. And I think it's going to be a real tense game tonight and tense series. There is a little bit of a wrench was thrown in today. Aaron Gordon has now been downgraded to questionable. His calf is acting up, and that's huge for the Nuggets. He's just such an important part of this team. But it's been a really weird series so far because Nikola Jokic has been decidedly average. I mean, he's been just off. Even from the first quarter of game 1, he's been, Rudy Gobert has been poking the ball away. Jokic had 5 turnovers in that first game. Second game, he was 8 for 20 and 1 for 7 in the fourth quarter. So it's really bizarre. Rudy has stepped up his game, but Jokic has crushed Rudy in the past. 61 points, 56 points, triple doubles left and right. But for some reason in this series, Jokic has been off his game, and it's been really, really odd to see.
Yeah, I mean, and I think just the styles of guys who lead those teams, like I said, with Ant and Jokic, it's such a different approach. And obviously, I think Ant can make that extra pass, but a lot of that is ISO ball, and a lot of that is him just, kind of imposing his will on the offensive end and finishing at the rim or shooting over you. But I think it makes for a great series, like just the two varying approaches and what are the chess moves going to be as we get later into the series. And I imagine that Nikola figures it out, but who knows? Maybe this is the first one and the first kind of hole in his armor here.
It's really funny. Like, I've been doing this for 28 years now. And I've said every time you watch a playoff series from game one to when it's decided, you learn about teams and you learn about who's what. And I always gain respect for a player and lose respect for a player. Like, I remember the Blazers played Houston one year, and I completely lost all respect for James Harden. I was just like, this guy's a garbage player. I just don't respect him. Dwight Howard, though, earned my respect in that series. In this series right now, so far through the first two games, Anthony Edwards, I've gained a tremendous amount of respect for. And one of those, the biggest element is the way he defends the rim. That guy, he blocks so many shots around the rim of guys going for dunks and whatnot. And I just didn't know that he had that part of his game. I didn't know that big a part.
Apparently he's been watching Dwayne Wade footage and seeing how a guard can make an impact at the rim.
Yeah. So he is the guy that has really impressed me and stood out. And I will always remember him.
Well, Jason, thank you for coming on today, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You do great work over at The Athletic. Where else can people check your stuff out and find you?
Just at The Athletic. I'm not big on social media. I'm here, there on Twitter or on X or whatever at JW. But I'm old school. I'd stay off of social media pretty much.
Hey, I wish I could be the same. Thanks again for joining us, man. We'll talk more soon.
All right. Take care, man.
All right, Iconic Sonics listeners and fans, we have got our community partners, Seattle NBA fans here today. Cedric Walker is here representing them. He described himself as the Robin of Blacktones to his sister's Batman or Batwoman, whatever you might want to say. Cedric, how you doing?
I'm good, Danny. Thanks for the introduction. That is exactly how it should be, because if I didn't tell you that, Eva would have been pretty upset. She'd be like, you didn't tell him that you're my sidekick? I'm like, yo, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I have a sister that is very much the same way, and we love to give them credit where their credit is due. So I appreciate that. We'll get into what Seattle NBA fans is and what you guys are looking to do in a little bit. I was going to start us off just with some quick hitters so that we could get you warmed up and then also get the audience warmed up to your relationship with the Sonics. How does that sound?
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Awesome. Let's start with the most basic one. Like, what is one of your earliest memories or one of your favorite memories about the Sonics?
Oh, man, one of my earliest memories. It was definitely one of the first games I went to. It was a long time ago. And this was my kind of first introduction into just basketball during the fall, during the winter. I got out of school. My mom was like, hey, the Timberwolves are in town. It's like a Tuesday or something, And I'm like, I don't know, I'm like 8 or 9 years old, and I'm just like, oh, sure, let's go, and then we go to the game. I'm having a blast. I think, like KG is playing, and I'm just like, this is crazy. I see these guys on TV all the time, So it was one of those memories where it's what I like to call a time capsule moment, where I'm like, oh, you can do this on a Tuesday in like November? Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, we can go do this? That's always stuck with me. That's one of the things I miss the most. But yeah, it was my first Sonics game.
I feel like I had something similar this past summer. I went to my first Storm game by myself. I've been to like hundreds of Storm games at this point, but I went by myself for the first time ever, because every other time it was like I was bringing someone, or sometimes I was like in media row or whatever. And so I was like, I'm just going to go as a fan by myself. And it was one of their random, like the schedule got all messed up. And so it was like a Wednesday afternoon, and I was sitting in Climate Pledge. Granted, it was also like super nice outside. So it was a little weird of like, I'm inside. It's like 70 outside in Seattle, and I feel like I'm kind of burning the middle of the day. But I was like, the free will to just be like, I'm going to a basketball game today. Yeah. Like, that's something I can do. So excited to do that again, maybe with the Storm game this year, hopefully with a Sonics game in the future. But let's talk about you got a "We Got Now" shirt on from Simply Seattle. I'm sitting in the offices of Simply Seattle right now, which is my full-time gig. Tell me about one of your favorite pieces of Sonics gear that you own. Maybe it's that shirt. Maybe it's something you used to own as a kid back when you were going to the Timberwolves and Sonics games.
You know, if we were talking in terms of timeline, right now, this is one of my favorite shirts without question. But I have a Gary Payton jersey that I am obsessed with and that I love, and I will never let it go. I'm sorry, Dave. This is such a loaded question because we also went through COVID, and you can see I have like Supersonics like mask and stuff. Like, you know, that was just one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting one of those. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I have all these little fun Sonic things. I'm going to say my Gary Payton jersey, though.
And you know what? Nobody can argue with that. He's probably one of the most famous Sonics, if not the most famous Sonic. And so, you know, I think you're right. I think you had it on the last time I saw you. So to everybody out there, he's still wearing it to this day, which brings me a lot of joy. On that note, maybe it's the same answer. Maybe it's the same player. Who was your favorite Sonic ever? Favorite Sonics player ever?
I mean, it's hard not to love the glove, man. And I love Sean Kemp. That's my guy. It's like 1A and 1B, you know, because I had the Kemp poster while having Gary Payton jersey, you know. But, you know, I'm growing up in the 90s and I'm watching GP talk smack to Michael Jordan. Like, what? You know what I mean? Sorry for yelling, Dan.
No, you're good.
I probably went crazy.
No.
But, like, you know, like... immediately I was like, this is the guy, you know, like
you said, Batman and Robin, Cedric and Eva, like, you know, it's Kemp and Peyton. Everybody needs a sidekick. Everybody needs a sidekick. So I love that. Let's jump forward in the timeline. I'm still tapped into the NBA. Obviously, there's some people that are scoring here in Seattle, and I get it, rightfully so, that don't watch the NBA anymore. Are you still watching hoops? Before I ask you who your favorite current player is?
Oh, yeah, I'm still watching I mean, I love basketball. I played it all through middle school, high school, you know, had the LA Fitness contract for a bit there.
Nice.
But, yeah, I'm just a huge fan of hoops, you know, so I love it. I still follow, you know. Yeah, I'm definitely a basketball head.
Perfect. Well, it's the best time of the year, I think, for hoops fans. Do you have a favorite current player? I mean, obviously, it's always tough, I feel like, asking favorite team, because I'm just going to end up getting rid of all that gear if the Sonics come back. But I'll just keep it with favorite current player to watch right now in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, the way you put it, especially as a Sonic fan, that's kind of where I went. I started just following players, you know. And right now, Cade Cunningham, Detroit Pistons. Love watching Cade Cunningham play. You know, can shoot the three, can also drive the ball. You know, I'm watching the game the other night, and I'm seeing 5 people just stand on the perimeter. I'm like, can somebody please drive the ball? You know, yeah, I love watching Cade Cunningham play. I like watching the Pistons play, to be honest. Like, it's a really fun team to watch right now.
JB Bickerstaff family has some ties back to the Sonics right there, so I love that.
That's right.
Cade Cunningham, I mean, anybody that's like over 6'5" and can pass, I feel like I always love watching them play. Whether it's him, one of my favorites, if not my favorite, is probably Luka Doncic, and even Joker. Like watching somebody who's 7 foot be able to whip it around. So definitely on the same page there.
It's insane.
It's
kind of crazy the era we're in right now, where a guy can be 6'11" and throw the ball like a point guard. You know, it's like, what's going on here?
Totally.
You know?
Well, and the way he posts up, you can see the water polo background in the way that he holds the ball. Like, it's just like all the water polo players hold it. So
it's such a great comparison.
Yeah, and like I remember watching it, and like somebody had said like, oh, he looks like he plays water polo, because they had played water polo, and then sure enough, it like came out like later. I was listening to a podcast like, oh yeah, he grew up, you know, playing water polo. I was like, oh my god, of course he did. You know, whatever.
I cannot unsee that now. I am going to imagine Jokic with like the little helmet on, you know, with holding, you know, like I can't. Now that you said that, I'm like, I get it.
That's all he needs. He just needs the little helmet. All right, one last one before we get into what Seattle NBA fans is all about. You have a finals pick for me. You were talking about the Pistons. Is that your pick?
I know this is it's crazy. I was talking about the Pistons, but
I think I know where you're going just by your tone already, but finish your thought.
I feel like this year, and some might say this is a controversial pick or whatever, or a hot take or whatever, but I feel like this might be the year of the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay. All right. Different direction than I thought.
You know, I really do. Different, definitely different. Anytime I talk to friends about it, they think it's a curveball. You know, they have the number of Oklahoma City, who's probably the only other team that can, you know, I don't see why the Spurs can't do it this year. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a very interesting, experience versus non-experience, right? They beat them up and down the block. I think they beat them 4 times or 3 times in 10 days during the regular. I think it was 3 times in 10 days this regular season. And so it'll be interesting to see if a team can make their first run and make it all the way there. But I don't know, man. We've never seen anybody like Wemby, and so maybe he'll show us something that has never really been done. I'm right there with you. I would love to see them win it. Last year, we got a lot of play on social media kind of rooting against the Thunder, as many people up here in Seattle do. Right. And so the other part of me that watched a lot of basketball this season thinks it might be a repeat. But, you know, I would be happy if it's anybody else. If I was somebody who, you know, went to the sports book and put money on it, I'd probably put money on the Thunder.
And well, it's not unprecedented, right? Like the Thunder, they were the far favorites last year, but they were a young team. You know, and they went in and people were like, maybe their youth might not be the best thing. But I feel like the Spurs are just what they were, you know, this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, like especially the Wemby factor, like we've never seen anything like that. So like, why would he subscribe to all the other things all the other things that he's breaking and whatever. Okay. Seattle NBA fans, let's get to the meat and potatoes here. Community partner of Iconic Sonics. We've been doing some work together, kind of behind the scenes, kind of in the light of day, but now I feel like it's a little bit more firmed up. Let's just start with what is Seattle NBA fans to those that are unfamiliar?
Yeah, well, Seattle NBA fans is a coalition of NBA fans here in Seattle that are ready and here to welcome the NBA back when that time comes. We like to have activations. We do things with certain groups where we're celebrating basketball. We're, celebrating still the Sonics and, what that brought to the community, even as we approach almost 20 years later. We have an advisory group of over something like 150, 200 people who've signed up. It's just a big group of really happy NBA fans that are excited for the NBA to come back, and we're trying to build up that community, build up that fan base, and get everybody pumped up.
Other than the very obvious reason of bringing the team back, what were the other reasons that you kind of felt of wanting to get involved as you saw Seattle NBA fans come about?
Yeah, well, for me, it was also nice to just share in a group of NBA fans. As you mentioned before. There have been a lot of people who've kind of drifted away from the NBA, and it was nice to find a group that was, still very into the NBA and also into the Seattle Supersonics. And this is something that was an opportunity for me to be like, hey, I can bring my fandom here while also making an impact on my community, around, the topic of basketball.
It's something that I always struggle with too, of I can only post about Jeff Green and Kevin Durant so many times on our account. So that there's still Sonics things there. Like one of the ones we did this recently was there's only 4 active players left that played against the Sonics in their career, which was and it was 5 to start the year before CP3 hung it up. And so, even that, another one was Blake Griffin got nominated for the Hall of Fame. He would have been the first player since the Sonics, were established in 67. He would have been the first player, if he had gotten in, to have never played against the Sonics and be in the Hall of Fame. So, like you said, as we get closer to the 20-year mark of the team being gone and stuff, but I'm the same way. I'm a basketball fan. I want to exercise these muscles and be able to do that. And so, partnering with Seattle NBA fans was always going to make sense, and we love what you guys have going on over there. You guys also did something very important at the legislative level. I know you weren't there, but I'd love to just hit on it quick so that people listening can kind of understand the gravity that Seattle NBA fans had. The NBA Readiness Roundtable, a little bit, was hosted by Council Member Rob Saka and the Seattle City Council Steps Committee. Can you just kind of tell me at a higher level what was that all about, and why was that important for Seattle NBA fans to be involved in?
Yeah, it was really awesome. Some of the other great team members that I have here at Seattle NBA fans went there to speak, on behalf of the fans, and Rob Saka was so gracious enough to hold that committee there and talk about Seattle's readiness, as you mentioned. And we talked about, how, Seattle has grown, how our infrastructure has grown, how our, transportation has grown, how the stadium is ready, you know what I mean? How we have, the One Roof group and an ownership group that's ready to, make a bid and stuff like that. It was great for Saka to bring Seattle NBA fans in, to give the fans a voice and to talk about the readiness that Seattle has. And hopefully that shines a spotlight on Seattle, the city, the fans, the business aspect and everything, and the politicians, how we're kind of coming together unified under this one topic.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing that I was really impressed with too was just the different names and faces that were there that day and how each one of them had a role. And I think the fan part of it is one that just can't be understated, of like, as we've both said, we totally understand those fans that have pulled away from the NBA or that have kind of given up hope or completely tuned out to the Sonics topic. But there's another part of the population that, like, I get asked so much, like, are they coming back? How confident are you? Whatever. And so I think being able to, have different touch points, whether it's Iconic Sonics, whether it's Seattle NBA fans, to really be able to educate people like that. And then even, at the highest level, be able to turn it around and educate our council members and politicians and legislative people like that. It's really important. To kind of go back to something like a little bit lighter, if like, and I don't want to rush through timelines or anything like that, because I think you guys are so great at getting the word out there and setting the right expectations and not, rushing through this timeline. But if we were to get good news this summer, like, who's the first person in your phone that you're reaching out to about, like, oh my gosh, like, have you heard about what's happening with the Sonics?
It would be my cousin in San Antonio, who constantly, whether it's around a family holiday or the holidays or whatever it is, so you got a team back yet? Like, he's a big Spurs fan, and I think one of the final playoff one of the series that we played, I believe, was against the Spurs. Yeah, it was the last one. And that was like 07, I think, or so. Or
05, yep.
05, yes, 05. And I never hear the end of it from him, And so he would be one of the first people that I would call and be like, hey, we got a team and we're coming for you.
That series was crazy. I think it was Jerome James was a Sonic.
Jerome James.
Jerome James, he had been cut by the Kings the year before, and then the Kings, I believe, were our first round matchup, and he put up like generational numbers. Like he had numbers. He went 25-10, I think, for the series. He told a story that like the Kings had cut him and told him, put all your stuff in a trash bag. So he brought a trash bag out after they beat the Kings and was like waving it around like a flag. He was wearing it over his shoulders during post-game interviews, just to then run into Tim Duncan and the Spurs in the next round and kind of get beat up a little bit. But
I was like, this is a Jerome James I've never seen, because it was like a 4-1 series, and I was like, is he gonna do this the next round? Like, is this a serious thing?
No, that's yeah. I have a Spurs fan in my life too. Thankfully, they don't really push me on that. But they do let me know that Wembanyama is the best player in the world all the time.
Oh, yeah, for
sure. To your point, there's your finals pick right there. All right, I would also be remiss if I didn't ask about Black Tones. Tell the people a little bit more about that. We were talking about it when we first jumped on, but what do you guys have coming up, and just what's the band all about?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, it's a band with myself, my twin sister, as Danny so graciously put, I'm the Robin, I'm the drummer, I am the sidekick of the band, and my sister Eva, she's the lead singer, she is the voice, she is the artistic drive that pushes the band. It's a rock and roll band. We kind of started a very garage rocky punk rock band here in Seattle, and the city really got behind us. Obviously we were born and raised here. Our family comes from New Orleans, so we were the first generation to grow up here in Seattle. But we grew up with grandparents that were from Louisiana, so we had red beans and rice, and all the southern fixings you can think of. So we're kind of this weird mix of like blues and rebellion, right? And like kind of, and
I love that.
We grew up, we were raised by Southerners, but we had Kurt Cobain and MTV on the TV in grunge 90s Seattle.
It's a different R&B. It's rebellion and blues rather than rhythm and blues. Yeah. I love that.
So it's just Afropunk put it like we marry punk and blues really well. And yeah, so we got a new album coming out. For those that don't know, we have Cobain and Cornbread art that's already out there in the ether webs. You can go check that out if you'd like. But we got some new stuff coming out this year, and hopefully, if you guys are interested, go have a listen.
Definitely. Well, as I said earlier, I didn't realize I was really kind of biting Sean Evans's flow with this line, but I want to roll the red carpet out. Where can people get involved with SNF? Where can they? I know you guys have a newsletter that I get every once in a while. Where can they get that? What can they do to be involved? And the floor is yours to just kind of promo anything about Seattle NBA fans and how people can get involved.
Yeah, again, I'll really touch on Seattle NBA fans. It's a big coalition of fans, businesses, just people in general coming together with their fandom of basketball, ready to show ready to show the NBA that the city is ready for NBA basketball. If you want to join, if you want to be a part of the activation, if you want to sign up for the newsletter, if you really want to be a part of it, because that's really what this is about. It's about being a part of it. It's about, getting in the driver's seat before everything happens, and saying, hey, I was a part of it when they came back. So if you're ready for that, you go to www.seattlenbafans.com, sign up, you'll figure out how you can fit into the organization and, come be a part of it. It's fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to have you on the podcast. Thank you for stopping by today. And definitely everybody be sure to go check out Blacktone's new album as well as SeattleNBAfans.com.
Thanks, Danny.